I was going to split this thing up because I knew it would be lengthy. And so I decided Sunday afternoon I would watch the first half, and that way I might be more receptive to the second half on Monday morning before we recorded this. I watched the first segment and turned the whole thing off and spent all night trying to decide whether I should watch the rest of it or whether I should just disappoint people and take care of my own mental health. What are people saying about this thing? I have, as I said, earlier in the program, I've been out this weekend with the pole saw, been doing some things in the yard and trying to get some things done. I haven't lived on the internet. Is somebody making excuses for any of this, or specifically the tooth and nail match?
I don't know if anyone's making excuses for the tooth and nail match. Other things happened on the show that distracted everyone from the garbage that was the tooth and nail match.
From the horribleness and awfulness of it. Is anybody making excuses for this program in general, for why that people were charged money to watch this, and why that nobody got their shit straight?
There are certain excuses being made by certain people. However, unlike the previous COVID-era pay-per-view that AEW did, this one is one where even AEW fans are saying, this pay-per-view wasn't that great. Some are saying, well, I like the matches, but ... And the fact that there's a but there tells you everything. It's hard to...
Yeah, it's hard to watch.
I think it's hard for AEW fans. It's hard to watch a
dream die.
I think it's hard for AEW fans to see this pay-per-view and pretend like all is rosy in AEW land. This was an embarrassing pay-per-view event.
Well,
if I may say so.
Well, you may say so, and we will talk about this. I don't know whether I'm embarrassed to have been involved in professional wrestling. I don't know whether I'm embarrassed for the people that were involved in whatever this was. I don't know whether I'm embarrassed for the people who bought the pay-per-view and can't write it off as a business expense. I don't know who I'm embarrassed for. I got plenty of blame to go around. They made a big deal of announcing a couple of days before this show, hey, the tooth and nail fucking match was going to be on the pre-show, but we want to give people the best wrestling show we can. So we're putting it on the pay-per-view. Is Tony Khan a drug addict? Is Tony Khan on hallucinogenic drugs?
Not that I'm aware of, and I don't know.
Had they seen this beforehand and then made that decision? Because obviously it didn't happen live. So did they tape this fiasco, commit this thing, and believe me, commit is probably the best word, commit this thing to video and then decide to put it on the pay-per-view?
I believe, from what I've been told, Tony Khan, as well as Jerry Lynn, were at the location when they filmed this.
Well, God, there was a lot of people there when Kennedy got shot. That doesn't mean they had anything to do with it. Poor Jerry Lynn, don't slander him. Tony Khan, I can believe. I would imagine if Jerry Lynn was there, he was probably, parking the cars when all this went on. I would have figured out some excuse to get away from it. But so there was a pre-show which I did not watch because I could tell it was a pre-show and I knew this fucking main show was going to be long enough anyway. Before we get to this fiasco, was there anything else on the pre-show we should be aware of?
There was a truly atrocious Jelly Nutella match where, once again, he showed that he just is not very good as a professional wrestler. The guy he was wrestling, who apparently is someone who's been featured on Dark, I'm not familiar with Serpentico or whatever his name was, he was equally as bad. It was a real amateur hour match.
That's what everybody gets for free to try to make you decide to buy the thing, right?
That was one of the puzzling things. You would think you'd put something hot on the pre-show to get people into buying the pay-per-view event. This match was so bad, and just saying indie isn't correct. It was just amateur hour. It was really, really bad, but we've talked about it. Jelly Nutella is one of the few people in AEW that AEW fans and haters are united over the fact that he doesn't belong there, that he's not good. He's really, really not good. What
was it that they had the feed going to Fight TV? I read this, that they went to a break when Jelly was, that's when he was impersonating his cousin Pippi Longstocking. And JR said to Tony Schiavone while they thought they were in break, but they were live on Fight TV, why do they keep booking this kid as a fucking babyface? I said, I'm looking at a heel. Because look at the state of this guy. When you look at him, he's disreputable in every way and has no endearing features. So why would you book him as a babyface? Just because they booked him as a babyface on some fucking shows in closets in front of other people that look even worse than he does. So naturally, he would look good by comparison. But anyway, so basically nothing on the pre-show of any consequence that anybody gives a shit about.
No, there was that match, which was horrible, and then there was a private party match, which was a private party match. And then they bring out Jim Ross for like the last minute of the pre-show. And I would actually think it would be important to have Jim Ross there for as much of the pre-show as possible, because you want people to see him who aren't familiar with AEW and go, oh my God, Jim Ross. What's he doing there?
I'll tell you from I don't have any inside knowledge that JR has said this, but from my perspective as being someone in his age category and not close to his fame level, but certainly a bigger fame level than anybody else involved in this proceeding. If I was JR, I'd say, bring me out right at the end of the show so you can tease me coming out, because I've got to sit out there for 4 hours and figure out something to talk about with this shit unfolding in front of me. So if it might better use JR, sell the goddamn show on the pre-show and then let JR leave so he's not embarrassed by what he has to call on what you got to pay for. I don't fucking know. I want to talk about this thing, the tooth and nail match between Dr. Britt Baker with her assistant Reba and Big Swole, which was cinematic in nature. And to use that, they said this was going to be a cinematic match. Brian, I have shot better shit. I'm not even talking about content. I'm just talking about better lit, better edited shit with a camcorder and Smoky Mountain Wrestling myself for free. This was an embarrassment not only from content, but to be aired. They were trying to imitate the WWE cinematic, dramatic acting. Now we know Big Swole can't work or act. The TV crew can't light, can't shoot, or edit. This was a cable access level, like a parody of if you found some women who had never really seen wrestling before, but you told them have a movie fight in this office and use some wrestling moves in it. Is the only way I can, whether this was faker than silly or sillier than fake, it was still large amounts of both. Horrible overacting. Or just bad acting to begin with, sloppy play wrestling work, if you can call it that, in a dentist's office. Hitting each other with the goddamn framed pictures. They were breaking, even though they're not even, I don't want them, they're women. I don't want them to hit each other with shit that they can fucking put each other's eyes out with and bust each other open with. But if you're going to goddamn have a fight, hit each other with the shit for real and have it gimmicked or something. It was both fake and fake at the same time. It was fake on the surface of it and it looked fake. It was insulting to anybody, wrestling fan or no, even if it was on a free show. The announcers made fun of it because what could they do? Or they just laid out entirely because what could they do?
Well, can I stop you there? And this may be a topic later in the show, but the announcers make fun of, just sit back and laugh at so many things throughout the show. And I get it. We're doing something here on this show. We're critiquing and reviewing this pay-per-view event. We could shit on it. We could make jokes about it. We could laugh about it. The announcers shouldn't be doing that. I don't care what it is.
No. Well, here's the thing. I agree with that, but I can't agree in this instance. Because last year when I did commentary for MLW, there was some great, exciting stuff, and there was also either some of the young folks who wanted to go 100 miles an hour or the lucha stuff that you sometimes couldn't figure out what to say, but I didn't openly mock or laugh at. You could find something, because I remember I said on the program, at least they're really trying and they're not assing off on purpose. And so I did not have ultimately a problem with my voice and face being on that show, because even if all of it was not executed, 100% according to the Eddie Graham playbook, they were not just being stupid and phony for the sake of it. And therefore, you work with them in whatever way you can. You cover up the misses, or you try to give some insight into the mindset of why somebody would do something that on the surface of it looks basically like something that you would be crazy to do. But, well, he thought this. You try to do all the little announcer tricks and help them. But with this, there's nothing to fucking help. It's a goddamn travesty. It's an insult. And at that point, if it was me, I mean, at this point, JR knows what he's in for. I understand that JR doesn't want to sacrifice his entire career by calling this like it should be serious. But that give the fucking best announcer in the goddamn business something serious to call, so he's not embarrassed to talk about it. Yes, I believe the announcers should be, while they're on the show, should be everything a professional that they can be. But when you're looking at something like this, then it's like, I don't want to get any on me. Maybe I'll have credibility to actually sell something another day when they try to get their shit together. That's what maybe the mindset is. The only one that's excited about any of this shit is Excrement, because he's excited to be there again. Anyway, the finish of this thing, Britt Baker goes for the fucking, after she's tried to put a power drill and they've done all the other thing, whatever the fuck. Britt Baker goes to get Swole with the hypodermic of Novocaine, but accidentally gets it jumped or stabbed into her leg, and her leg goes numb. And Reba was screaming over and over, "Oh my God, you've stabbed her," while she's standing there with a banana peel on her fucking head. Not even just actually splayed out like a little cap that she didn't have time to fucking knock off. And then Swole doesn't just hit Reba with the goddamn diploma, but hands Reba the diploma so she can hold it in front of her own face so that Swole can hit that, and then puts Britt Baker out with the nitrous. And the real question is Tony Khan on the nitrous? How dare you, sir? How dare you ask people to pay for this? How dare you, sir, ask people to watch this under the guise of watching a professional wrestling program? How dare you, sir, perpetrate this on all the people that have given their blood, sweat, and tears to keep this industry going for the past 125 years so that you can shit on the airwaves? How dare you, sir? Unprofessionalism. So, we are instituting the tooth and nail rule, which is this. Remember how I've said, okay, Britt Baker has grown on me with the heel thing and the promos, and I get a kick out of her and Reba. I will never watch anything again involving Dr. Britt Baker, Reba, or Big fucking Swole. Never, ever. I don't care if they bring Britt Baker to the fucking WWE and she fucking knocks out Brock Lesnar with 6 F5s in a row. That they did this should have revoked their membership in the goddamn wrestling fraternity, which they're not really in anymore anyway, because there is no such thing as a goddamn wrestling fraternity, the brotherhood of people inside the business that protected it and respected it. There's just a bunch of goddamn clowns playing in it. But if it was possible to revoke a wrestling license over a single performance, every single motherfucker involved in this, and Mike Posey, the referee, don't ever let me see you in person again just for fucking being there.
Did you want him to quit his job?
Yes.
How's he going to support his family?
Oh, for God's sake. He picked up a goddamn referee spot in a goddamn nail salon or a dentist office in suburban fucking Atlanta somewhere. I think he'll fucking be fine.
I will say, I know you hate the term performer, but I'm going to use it here in this case. Out of all the women's wrestlers in all of wrestling, Big Swole is the worst performer in the entirety of professional wrestling. She's garbage in the ring. Her promos, her attacking wrestlers when she's sitting at ringside, her performance here, this whole Britt Baker Big Swole feud. This is awful. This was the worst way you could have started this pay-per-view event.
If this had been done right, it would have still sucked. But it was done low budget, outlaw, rotten, stagey, and awkward. And in a simple-minded fashion, for once they needed writers. Imagine, Jim Cornette just said they needed some fucking writers. Tooth and nail rule.
Nobody writes my TV but me.
Well, nobody makes my rules but me, and Britt Baker, Reba, and Big Swole are disqualified for their participation in this from my life ever.